Alright, my friends, welcome to your seat at the table. This is Rick the Batman, and I'm coming at you with another installment of Middle-earth, or MERP, J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth, the role-playing game system created by Iron Crown Enterprises ICE. For those of you who are familiar, not so familiar, this is Dark Mage of Rhudaur, a fantasy role-playing adventure module. And let's see what we got here, alright. It was published in 1989 by Tolkien Enterprises. Peril and Mystery, Peril and Mystery. Evil await the adventurers of the declining kingdom of Rhudaur. The Witch-king of Angmar is preparing to launch a new war against the Dunedain of the north. Will you bolster the defenses of one of the threatened beacon towers? This is but one of the challenges. Fight barbaric Dunmen who plunder a well-traveled trade route. Confront the Yfelwood, the Yfelwood shadow arisen from the mists of the ancient past, etc., etc., and sundry. So, this is one of a common design for watchtowers and border forts throughout the western confines that were settled and controlled by Gondor or Arnor. So this can be reused in numerous scenarios, both in the north and the south, possibly even in places further east, wherever the Numerians or the Gondorians had left a mark. Here's our regional map of the area of Rhudaur, which on my main map would be located somewhere to my right, probably another length of map, because the region between here and Rivendell is quite large. So, Arnor is a large region, and then you have the western parts of the Misty Mountains, etc. So, guidelines, definitions, abbreviations, adapting this module, converting staffs and bonuses, as I say in all these supplements, that MERP did a good job of allowing for adjustments to your favorite role-playing system, so you don't have to use theirs. If you're not comfortable with it, you're not familiar with Rollmaster, you're not comfortable with the D100 system, you can use D&D's base rules or Pathfinder or a score of others, easily converting the stats in the book for use in your favorite. So, introduction to the Border War, the Angle, the Trollshaws, and the Yfelwood, or the Fellwood, depending on how you want to look at it. Yellwood. Introduction. When the scrolls of the lore masters and the sagas of the bards turn to the subject where they tell fierce battles and mighty captains, perhaps of the course of history is determined by these epic events. Yet such clashes are perforce rare, occurring only a few times in the age. Elves would hold great wars to come only too often, but the elder measure in the years and yens. Among men, only a few of the noble Dunedain have seen their lives encompass an entire yen of 144 man's years. And for the most part, the dwellers of Middle-earth, 4 generations may pass in this span. The Elven Queen, Galadriel, in Lorien once spoke of the long defeat she perceived, but one continuous conflict against Morgoth and his avatar, Sauron, in all of her long sojourn in Endor, the ceaseless battle between light and darkness. So, at Third Age 1408, 50 years after his defeat at the Great Northern War, the Witch-king of Angmar has recovered his strength and is preparing to launch a new war against the Dunedain of the North. As a preliminary measure, he intended to destroy the beacon towers in southern Rhudaur, which yet defy his power. Eliminating the 5 Gondren, Onin, Egleded, or stone trees of the Angle will secure supply routes to the borders of Arthedain and Cardolan. First on his list is the northernmost Turthon, which lies at the edge of the Yellwood, and Trollshaws. The Witch King has several schemes afoot to assure that the beacon towers will fall quickly. The Angle, also the Engladil. Yes, I butcher the damn names. I'm sorry, but I'm not a fluent linguist. The Angle is open and windswept country lying between the rivers of Mithril, or River Horwell, and the Loudwater. To the north lie the Trollshaws. It's not a fertile land, but better suited to serve as summer passage for the tribes of Dunmen. In times of past, tribesmen paid tribute to the House of Malas, the Dunedain lords of the region, for this privilege. During feudal wars the last 100 years, the herdsmen sought safer fodder. In absence of the Dun landings, large numbers of hobbits, mainly robust stores, settled along the river banks of the far south Angle. Their taxes sustained the struggle of the Northront heirs of the Mullos family against the Hillmen and their evil masters. So Trollshaws and the Yellwood, peoples of the frontier. The Rangers, the Dol Carlith, the Belsagi, the Little War. So the feud between the Belsagi and the Colorith has become a way of life. Its own rhythms and cycles, not entirely like lived by farmers. After the spring thaw, Northmen relieve their precious herd of horses and foals from the paddocks to roam the fields, and men of Rhudaur withdraw to the woods, since they cannot match the mounted patrols in a fair fight. Throughout the summer, the Belsagi search for the camps of their foe and block routes to Angmar, while the Carlists set up ambushes and practice horse thievery. In the fall, the Northmen take their horses to market and purchase winter supplies. Convoys of wains bring stores to the towers or harass. Each side makes one or two major attacks. The winter belongs to the Rangers, so the mercenaries withdraw to their virtually impregnable stone towers. Okay, so for a little bit of a cap, the Rhudaur's Dunedain population is not great in number to start with, so they depend heavily on levies of lesser men. In this case, Dunlandings to moreover than hillmen, because hillmen tend to be very ornery and problematic. They also have a long history of not liking the Dunedain. The Dunlandings do not like them either, so this forces them to, whenever their coin allows, for the Dunedain land lords and those who represent the government of Rhudaur at the time, to hire mercenaries, which the majority of these mercenaries tend to be Northrons or Northmen from beyond the Misty Mountains, the Ravirium and Minadale and places further east, that kind of thing. So it's ironically quite often that it's the same people that the Witch-king of Angmar tends to hire to bolster his military forces, that the leadership of Rhudaur does the same. So that's kind of a thing in it, right there a little bit. Plot against the Terrathon. Holds of Angmar around the Witch King are vast and contain hordes of wealth as well as hordes of orcs. Yet the valor of the northern Dunedain will not be overcome easily. The easterling armies needed for victory must be maintained on the eastern side of the Misty Mountains, because the borders of Eredor are infertile and depopulated. Witch King seeks to control the East Road to allow rapid deployment and supply of these forces. That's something that's interesting to note, that the Angmar itself is very desolate in the far northeast and very rough terrain, very not conducive to agriculture. Matter of fact, a lot of central and eastern Arnor could be labeled in the same, and Rhudaur is right smack in the middle of that eastern section, where they're surrounded by rocky outcroppings and dales, and the little river valleys are fairly capable plants in agriculture, but not to the degree or to the scale to support huge amounts of population. That said, Angmar's forces, while much of them are orcs and trolls and evil creatures, a larger percentage are mannish troops. These are our mercenaries and conscripts that have come from beyond the Misty Mountains. In order to operate and be successful, they need to be well supplied, and so a lot of those resources have to come across the Misty Mountains or through or under them, depending on who's controlling what, or from the sea. And Angmar cannot utilize the sea to supply resources, so he must control the roads and the few passes going through the Misty Mountains. The plot against Terrathon. Control each roll. Plunder and moving the Great Soul north Dunmen must be taken. However, the ringlegs' resources are not so extensive that he can overwhelm his forces with sheer numbers, which King cannot dispense with stealth. His latest strategy requires that of the force to fall apparently to local forces, so he's instigating the hillmen in the region to harass the paid mercenaries and Dunedain of this particular tower. So we have additional adventures in Rhudaur. Said, although a party of adventurers traveling in Rhudaur might easily get caught up in the unfolding battle of the Angle, at which King's minions in Valfreda's realm seek unwitting dupes for a bit of minor treachery. It's up to the group to demonstrate that their selection for this role is based on a mistakenly low estimate of their capabilities. Adventurers' overriding purpose is to provide the garrison a Terrathon of much-needed muscle and magic to withstand this first of the renewed assaults of the Angarium. Failing that, they should send a warning to the attack and deadly additions to the ranks of the darkness and to responsible persons in Cardinal and Arthedain, or perhaps to Elrod and Rivendell. says here, no. Regardless of player character success or failure, the beacon towers will eventually succumb. The annals are obscure in this subject, but they suggest the last of the Rhudaurian towers fell to the forces of evil in Third Age 1420 to 1429. Some of the store hobbits lingered on their lands to the far south of Angle until sometime after the Great Plague, 2 centuries later. So certain aspects of Tolkien's world are set in stone, and we're not going to alter them by our gameplay in any form. So it's just something to know. Thun Void, or the High Fort, has served as the seat of government for Dor, Ornan, and Geld since Brithil was raised during the Great Northern War. Though Thun Void is somewhat larger than the average borough or town, its beacon tower is rebuilt with 2 extra stories so the proper rampart could be added. It is the capital primarily because Volfreda raised the banner of House Molas here after her male kin had fallen. Terran Bend is a rough and ready community where outsiders are not especially welcome, but this is by far the safest place in all the Angle. Now, I just did a previous video on Hillman the Trollshaws, and there was a comment that Kemeth Bren, which is the capital of Rhudaur, was the only settlement of civilization. See, this just proves me right that there are many more settlements that are than what's listed or what's knowledgeable. If we look on some of the maps that we have, you can see little towns and forts and towers. And there's Frankie the Shelter Cat. If you start that, you're going out the door. I'm not having you unplugging things. That's what happened to me last week, or last two weeks. We're trying to do videos. Somehow or another, she bumps stuff or walks across the laptop, and everything goes south. And I love her to death, but I get frustrated a little bit when that sort of stuff happens. And so we got manor houses and little towns and villages and things like that scattered all over the map. So it's one of my strong beliefs in why, even after the fall of Arnor and its successor states, that the northern Dunedain of Arnor, excuse me, folks. Okay, Frankie, I know you want attention. Suddenly you want attention. You were all good through the first video, and now you've got to claim on everything. So you go out here with Mama. Not having you disconnected anything. I don't know. I love my cats. I do. I'm a total cat person. And then most times they run the house. Sometimes, just sometimes. And we're back. So, assuming I have sound and there's no way for me to turn this off and check without completely boring the video, and we're not going to go there. Magatura, 10 miles west of the River Bruin, across the downs are the remains of a fortified village. Magatura, home of the Tura. Typical of the Danish tribal villages of Rhudaur, notable primary because its northern location is dangerous but able to attract enough travelers on the Danish tract to support a modicum of prosperity. There is no other way stop for the 2 days' journeys in any direction. Now there's none at all. On their way to Tithien, the hired warriors of the Endawythe stopped to pillage the settlement and acquire some strong backs for the drudge work of the upcoming siege. Among this company who raised the Magtera, the 40-odd tribesmen of the Solnanu, Nuna, descendants of Isna, are recently civilized, but 26 Macha Mur, or Great Macha, are primitive savages. The ruins of the village, the map, over here, Danish warbands. See, although the Danish hirelings appear indistinguishable, they belong to 2 very different tribes. The Sael Nuna formed a large clan that lived in Rhudaur for many centuries before deciding to seek greener pastures during the Great Northern War of Third Age 1350. They did not thrive during their wanderings in Dunmen, and many of the young warriors are anxious to return to their old lands. The Witch-king has promised that these will be restored to them after the war. The Macha Mur is a small tribe which long resided in the Endawythe. Their lands are poor and traditionally support themselves by renting out the shores to their young men as mercenaries. The Macha Mur have a reputation for barbarity and are effective leaders of this expedition. So the camp of the Sael, Nuna, and Macha Mur, NPCs, tasks. party will be hired to escort Dagger's Green to the Terathon. This is their primary objective. The random dangers met on the road during the Tercon is hilarious enough, but the wolves and the Danish warbands are also moving in the same direction. The existence of these fellow travelers will be discovered at Magtura, if not before. At this point, the secondary mission of gathering as much intelligence as possible at the forces arrayed against the beacon tower will become apparent. Parties should begin to suspect there are hidden influences at work. They are easily target the area with their potentially overwhelming foes, paying little attention to them. Starting the players, encounters, rewards, Nassin, Pend and his friends, Wolfpacks, Mechantera, the Witch King's Blizzard, Danish patrols, the Danish camp, besieged. 5.0 the Valsagi stay during the Target Guardian. In fact, there is no finer sight than all of Endor, the first glimpse of a beacon tower at the journey's end. This occasion might be the exception, for our travelers are aware there are foes gathering who will provide a serious threat to the strength of the stone walls and the sword arms of the garrison. Then we go into some description and understanding of the beacon towers of Rhudaur, when they were built, why they were built, who built them, who rebuilt them, the Terthion and its general area. Terthion, or the Watch Pine, is the most exposed of the towers, held by the Valsagi and only one of the that lies north of the East Road. First of the Dunedain beacon towers to have a complete garrison in Northrons. Service here is always extremely unpopular due to its proximity to the dreaded Yfelwood. There's a perennial talk of abandoning the fort, but it's too convenient a base for the annual summer blockade. There are very few non-combatants in the garrison. It is primarily manned by young and unmarried or the old and widowed warriors. Tower layouts, lower cellars, upper cellars, levels. So you can see this action. It's quite good size, even from the outside, from the appearance here. It doesn't look all that imposing size-wise, but there's quite a bit more going on here, especially below ground, than what one would believe or one is led to believe. So, and Cathion's plan of attack, though mage by profession, Ethicalian of the Eastling has always longed for the glory of military command. Which granted his trusted subordinate with the important assignment: take out the tower. NPCs at the siege: Marindel, Rhudaur, Osmi, Ardouin. Marindel is a member of the third branch of the House of Rhudaur, once part of the greater nobility of Rhudaur. Most of his relatives are now living in Gentile poverty in Cardoland. Knights routinely deceased spouse numbered him ambition among a few faults and persuaded him to return from exile to take service with the Valfreda. Marindel has proven himself a solid, if uninspired warrior, well suited to command of a small fortress. And we got his second lieutenant, or his lieutenant, a younger firebrand, the woman he married, who discovered that this was not the place she thought it would be. And assortment tasks starting the players, obstacles, rewards. So encounter, see 5.5. Night fell during the troll days. Meridan enforces a quarantine on any visitors to the Terthion. They must spend one night in Yani's Drift. Commanders partially motivated by desire to keep the old soldier in business, but this is rational safety measure in these glorious times. Yanari plays the buffoon well. Few travelers detected as his approval of their story credentials rather than the passage of some statutory number of hours that is necessary to gain admittance to the beacon tower. Otherwise, he's spying on him. Layout, Nereus Drift, Battle of the Terthion. Dawn of the day after Yanari's Drift has been secured by the cultists, the Danish tribesmen will array themselves on the ridge south of Terthion. They will hoot and holler, make derisive comments about the courage and manhood of the defenders. There's a chance 1 through 66, or 1 in 6 chance out of 10 that verbal abuse will spur Marindel into ordering a sortie. He declines. They will appear again the next morning, and then Marindel will be unable to resist ordering a charge. Grand assault, typical. Then we got adventure number 6, the horror of the Yfelwood Sea. So it gets a little bit more potent. Secured deep dark layers throughout the northwestern Middle Earth. There linger some deadly elf-banes of the elder days, minions who serve the Dark Lord at the height of his power. As the Dwarves of Moria discovered, woe to those who unleash these primordial evils. Troll shells of Rhudaur have been the abode of one of the forgotten monsters for eons. Recently, the servants of Witch-king of Angmar unearthed the hidden crypt and sought to command the horrors of the Yfelwood to their master's dark schemes, but the lackeys who began this grotesque endeavor have been defeated, and now the cruel spirit Logath struggles to escape its ancient bonds. The tale of the shapeshifter. During the early centuries of the Second Age, Sauron wore the fair guise as Lord of Gifts. He courted the ambitions of the noble gemsmiths, hoped to bind them to evil with the rings of power. While engaged in this subterfuge, he also sought to gain dominion over men in Eredor. Since the scheme enslaved the elves required continual deceptions, the Dark Lord relied on priests and priestesses of malignant cults to subvert the Dunedain to his evil purposes. Morgoth was neither the greatest nor the last of these minions, but she served her master well. The shapeshifter, with 3 other minions, gained influence and adherence to black religion after a score of years. So, some kind of shapeshifting. Call it a blood white, pretty powerful undead. So we got layouts of her veil, the crystal caves, crypts that, orcs, trolls, the blood whites themselves, the halls of her domain. There you go. So there's a lot of stuff that can be done here. Quite a few adventures and things that can be had when we're dealing with the Dark Mage of Rhudaur. Till next time, my friends, enjoy the world, enjoy life, find something positive to grab on in these questionable times. Remember, we're together in this. We will get through it. Stay safe.